For the next few minutes or so, we're going to be having a closer look at some of these headlines this morning in the morning's papers, and there's plenty being talked about. Our guest this morning, delighted to say, we have, I think, the Evening Standard's Nizaar Kinsella now, and also Anfield rap contributor Harriet Pryor. Yes, you're both with us, guys. Thank you so much. Great to see you both, and thanks for coming on Paper Talk. Look, I've got to start with you, Harriet, because Liverpool's form this season is making plenty of headlines, and some of the Daily Mirror's football journalists have been having their say this morning. So let's start with the Mirror's John Cross, Andy Dunn, Mike Walters, James Nursey and Simon Bird. They've all contributed to this piece. What have you made of what they've had to say, Harriet?
It's very interesting, isn't it? I think everyone is trying to pinpoint exactly what is going on at Liverpool this season, when a lot of the players have won the Champions League, won the Premier League, and people are questioning why their decline has happened so fast this season. And the writers there are trying to go through potential reasons. And Mike points to a lack of investment in the midfield area, and the fact that we didn't bring Bellingham in. And I know that he was a long-term target at Liverpool, but they felt that they couldn't get him from Dortmund in the summer, and we're looking forward to perhaps January or the next transfer window in August to look to bring him in. John and James both explore the sale of Sadio Mane and the form of key players, and they suggest that bringing in Núñez just wasn't enough. But obviously back in January, we brought in Diaz, and he was seen to be the replacement for Sadio Mane, but then that didn't sort of work out now with injury problems we've got. Andy looks back as far as last season and suggests that losing the Champions League and the Premier League on the last day might have had an impact, and says that the mentality monsters have turned into mentality mice. And then Simon says Liverpool are damaged goods psychologically, and it's time for a rebuild. So loads of potential reasons there that they're going through, and perhaps what is the most difficult is that it's not just one of them, it's a lot of things that combined this season that are causing them lots of problems.
I was going to ask you, what do you think the big reason is?
I would suggest that injuries are having a real impact, coupled with a lack of investment in midfield. One of the keys to Liverpool's success last season was that they were able to rotate the squad so much, and in all the 4 different competitions they were fighting, they were able to bring in different players, rely on different players. This season, due to injuries and due to a lack of investment in that midfield area, it's over-reliance on the key 4 players, and they're being told to go again and again and again. And the impact that's having psychologically is taking its toll, and there's a lack of protection in midfield in particular, and it's causing gaps all over the pitch, and for individual mistakes and conceding lots of goals early on to creep in, and it's a lack of confidence as well. So that they're the 2 key areas for me.
Nizaar, good morning to you. I'll ask you the same question. Where's it all going wrong for Liverpool at the moment?
I'd probably agree with a lot of that, but I just want to add, systemically as well, I feel like they're searching for a tactical system at the moment, and they don't know the best 11. They don't know where the players fit. The good thing about Liverpool in the past, that pressing system that was so hard to break out of. They always defended on the front foot with great energy. They don't seem to be able to do that. I think at one point this season, Jurgen Klopp was saying how he needs to have a real look and think about his tactics. And he always used to just use a 4-3-3, and now he's having to search for new answers. He's playing at the moment, and things like that. So I think that Liverpool don't quite have that well-drilled, Gengham pressing system that sort of helped them win a title, helped them win the Champions League. And now I feel like they've got a tactical identity crisis with sort of the new players, the injuries, and, maybe just the system itself breaking down after so many years.
Nizaar, I'll stick with you here because I want to take us to our second paper, which is the Express. And it's a huge night for Tottenham tonight in the Champions League. They take on Marseille. It's their final group game. And the headline here is failure, no option for serial winner Conte. I mean, it's a huge night, Nizaar, isn't it? But what's the story behind the headline here?
Well, I think that, when you look at the front page and you look at on the back page, you look at Antonio Conte, you kind of understand that, maybe he's always living life a bit on the edge at all his clubs. And, as good as he's been at Tottenham, it feels like, if things do go in a downward spiral, he might walk. So I think that's sort of the insinuation here is that, Tottenham need Conte to be happy to sort of perpetuate a good future. But, if results start to slide, he might be even the one to walk away. So, this is a huge game. Of course it is. And you can see how frustrated he was when that Harry Kane goal, in my opinion, last time out was wrongly ruled out. But it's created this massive game for them, in midweek. Not what they wanted. They wanted to be through by now. They've got to play Liverpool at the weekend as well. So, you've got that. That's kind of like they're one of the teams a bit like Liverpool that are probably a few defeats away from a crisis. So I think that it could go either way for them. They're still quite sitting pretty in top four, but you just feel that some of the performances from Tottenham have been quite bad, and that the way that football is, that they could have a slide at some point.
Mentioned there them sitting in the top four. They are third in the league, and I think there's maybe conversations around them being in a bit of a crisis, and actually things aren't quite that bad. If you look back to 12 months ago, Conte had just taken over, and now they're playing to be in the last 16 of the Champions League, and tonight will be a huge mental battle for them and the manager won't be on the touchline, and that's a really big sticking point. He won't be able to communicate with his players until 15 minutes after the game. He won't be on the touchline tonight, so how will they be able to cope with that? He'll be feeling really frustrated that they didn't get this wrapped up earlier. He'll have thought they had chances to get them through to the last 16 in the last few games, and now only 2 points separate the top and the bottom of that group, and they have to go to Marseille and they have to get a result. A point will be enough to do it, but they will definitely be feeling the pressure tonight.
The Express have also put a spotlight on Antonio Conte's record in the Champions League. I'm just looking at it here. It's not great. I mean, quarter-final, group stages, last 16, group stage. He doesn't have a great record in this competition, which is quite surprising, Nizaar.
Yeah, it is. I think even when he joined Chelsea, I saw him arrive there at Stamford Bridge, and Juventus. They often said that he's a great league manager, but can't do it in the Champions League. And his achievements at Juventus in the league were incredible. Then he won the league with Chelsea. So you're thinking, if you can win the Premier League, if you can win Serie A, especially in those days, you maybe have a team that can do something in the Champions League. But never quite followed. Maybe it's to do with his style of football as well. It's quite defensive, low blocks. But, we have seen coaches win with that sort of system as well. So, it's kind of a funny one that, we all know that he's such a great coach, but it hasn't translated into success in Europe. And until he does something in that competition, I think that it will continually be a barb to hit him with. I mean, I think the best he's done is get to the Europa League final with Inter, but then to fall short with a great Inter team was also seen as quite a failure in itself.
Yeah, OK. Well, let's move on to our final paper here. So, I know we've got another one after this, but this is the Daily Mail. The back page, actually, is all about Marcus Rashford. He's been in great form, hasn't he, recently? And it says here, hands-off Rash. That's the headline. And it's all about them trying to tie down their striker who scored his 100th goal before the end of the season and ward off rival clubs. It's been quite a transformation. There was a lot of talk that he might leave the club, in the last couple of transfer windows as well. Harriet, has been quite a turnaround for Rashford as far as his form goes?
Yeah, when we were doing the transfer shows back in summer, and we were all questioning whether he would still be part of Manchester United's plans, and now the new manager has come in and seemed to have really got the best out of him. Rashford worked really hard over summer physically to get himself ready for this season. I think that's really paying dividends now, and that's why they'll be looking to tie him down a little bit longer. He's only got 8 months left on his contract now, but in order for him to not start to have conversations in January to other clubs, and it's particularly that the paper suggests that PSG are interested in attracting the player, they'll want to be tying him down. They have got the option of extending his contract for another year, so they might just want to do that to avoid him getting in conversations and other clubs putting in offers or having conversations with the player. But ultimately, I think they'll want to tie him down on something a bit longer term, because I think you can see here with Ten Hag, with the new manager, he's working particularly well. He seems to be central to Ten Hag's plans in the future. And also, I like that he's playing him in different positions, and he's widely thought to be best out on the left. But Ten Hag has taken a risk and played him a bit more centrally and allowed him to have that freedom to go and be that out-and-out striker. And it does seem to be working for him in particular games. He's already scored more this season than he did in the entirety of the past campaign. Definitely on an upward trajectory for him, and they'll want to keep him around a lot longer.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Marcus Rashford, he was probably on a downward curve last season. It was as bad a season as he's ever had, and yeah, that's maybe not the time to go into the contract negotiations either if you're leaving a club, or even if you're the club who wants to keep the player. You don't really know what you've got on your hands, but now we're kind of seeing what Marcus Rashford can do with a real football manager, one who has a system in play. He's kind of developing his game. The fact he scored 2 great headers in the last 2 games just adds another dimension to what he's already got, which is that blistering pace that we all know about. So yeah, I think that now for Manchester United, it's a must re-sign really thing. And there is a bit of pressure with the so few months left on the contract, but I guess they'll be hoping that this is an academy guy. He won't talk to the clubs until maybe, that contract does get signed. Marcus Rashford, he was on Sky, wasn't he? At the weekend, he was so happy to be at Man United. He looked happy. He admitted that, I think that the guys asked him about, would you consider moving clubs in the summer? Things were going so badly for you, and it felt like the door in his head was a little bit open. But now playing so well, he's so happy. The environment of Man United that Erik ten Hag has created has allowed him to flourish and grow. And I think that when I watched him on that game at the weekend, he looked so happy to be there. So I think maybe United can be hopeful, but they can't be complacent either, because he'll want a contract that reflects his worth.
We're going to finish with going back to the Mirror, guys, and look at this story about David Beckham, excuse me, which is, he's gone back to his roots, according to the Mirror. That's the headline. Superstar returns to his boyhood league to mentor struggling club for new TV show. What has David Beckham been up to? Harriet, any idea?
Back to his roots, I like that one. Well, it talks about how his career started at a grassroots team in London, coached by his dad, and it talks a lot about the dedication that his parents, he now realises as a parent himself, had to drive him around to matches, to training every weekend. So he's going back to where it all began for a 4-part documentary series called Save Our Squad. He's helping a team called Westwood Boys, I believe they're called, a team facing relegation in the league he played in as a child. And I think it will really highlight the sense of community. It will include really special moments like a visit to Wembley Stadium, and it will detail their sort of connection and the connection that he makes with the players as he tries to help them back out of their way of the relegation battle. So it'll be a really interesting piece, a nice piece back to where it all began for Beckham, and to highlight the sense of community that football can bring.
Manchester United story and what he's done there, and there's been great documentaries on that, the club doing and things like that. So it would be good to kind of root him in his childhood, see what he was like. I kind of live in East London, quite near where he sort of grew up. So it would be nice to see him sort of, what he was like as a kid, and sort of see him interacting now he's such a superstar with, the people where he grew up.
Harriet, Nizaar, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to both of you. Thank you so much for coming on this morning and casting your eye over some of those morning headlines. Really do appreciate your time.